So back in the year 2000, right when Britney Spears was arguably the most famous person on the planet, she and her mom, Lynn, put out this book, Heart to Heart. And this was it. This was the official story, a very specific narrative they presented to a world that was just desperate to know who she really was. So today, we're going to dive in and deconstruct the story they wanted us to hear. Right from the jump in the introduction, the book lays its foundation. This isn't just a story about a pop star becoming famous. No, it's presented as the story of this unbreakable mother-daughter team. This quote isn't just a sweet dedication. It's basically the mission statement for the entire book. And like any great origin story, this one starts at the very beginning, in a tiny town a million miles away from the bright lights of Hollywood. The book really paints this picture of Kentwood, Louisiana. It's your classic small-town America backdrop, the perfect place for a girl with a huge dream to feel, well, a little out of place. Lynn talks about how Britney was just always performing, putting on shows for absolutely anyone who'd watch. This desire to be on a stage wasn't created by anyone. It was just in her from day one. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It shows you how deep that performing bug went. I mean, this isn't just a kid singing in the bath. She was rehearsing. The bathtub, that was her stage. Her dolls were the audience. A shampoo bottle was her microphone. Even as a little kid, she was building the world she was determined to live in. But the book is also really clear that this was no fairy tale. Lynn gets into some serious financial struggles, talking about the power company threatening to shut the lights off, or times when the cupboards were totally bare. And this is a crucial point, because it means that every single dance class, every trip for an audition, that wasn't just an expense. It was a massive family sacrifice. It really frames Britney's dream as this huge collective family bet. And that idea of sacrifice leads us right into the next chapter of her journey, because the book makes a huge point of showing that the road to stardom was anything but a straight line. It was just full of setbacks. Now, what's so interesting when you look at it this way is the pattern that emerges, right? It's rejection, then you try again, you get a small win, and then bam, a real breakthrough. The story doesn't hide the failures. It actually uses them to build this narrative of resilience. So first, she gets rejected from the Mickey Mouse Club when she's only 8. Then she loses on national TV. But that push leads to a little win, being an understudy in New York. And that gives her the chops for the second Mickey Mouse Club audition, which she nails. That loss on Star Search is really painted as this huge public moment of failure. Can you imagine at 10 years old feeling like your entire hometown is watching and you've let them all down? The book uses her own words here to really drive home how crushing that felt. It wasn't just about losing a contest, it was about disappointing everyone. And of course, right on cue, who steps in? Lynn. Her role in this story is to take that devastating loss and turn it into a life lesson about character, about being a good sport. It just keeps reinforcing that image of her as the wise, comforting mom, turning every single obstacle into a teaching moment. Then the book jumps ahead in time to a totally different kind of obstacle, one that hit right when she'd already made it. She injures her knee during a rehearsal, and it's bad. This wasn't just about disappointment anymore. This was a real, physical threat to her whole career. Her recovery is then held up as proof of her incredible discipline and just how mentally tough she was. All of which brings us to one of the book's biggest messages. This whole dream didn't happen because of just one person. It happened because of a whole support system, a dream team. Okay, this is fascinating because you get two completely different takes on this same huge decision. On the one hand, you've got Lynn, hearing all her neighbors worrying, feeling the immense pressure and the risk of it all. And on the other hand, you have a young Britney who wasn't scared at all. To her, New York wasn't some big, scary city. It was just the next logical step to get where she wanted to go. The way they tell the story of her getting a record deal, it's just this whirlwind of pressure. It wasn't some lucky break like being discovered at a mall. It was a lawyer taking a chance on a basic demo tape, which led to this absolutely grueling day in New York with 6 back-to-back auditions for major record labels. And even when she gets the deal with Jive, it came with a huge catch, a 90-day trial period. They could have dropped her at any point. So the book makes it really clear that to navigate all of that, she needed a whole team. And it lists out the key players, right? You've got her family as the foundation, her chaperone, Faye, who is like a big sister, and then the industry pros like her manager Larry Rudolph and the producer Max Martin, who really crafted her career and her sound. But what happens after the dream team pulls it off? Well, the last part of the book really gets into the two sides of fame. the unbelievable highs, and the really tough costs. Let's start with just the sheer scale of the success. Her first album sold over 11 million copies, and that's just in the US. The book really wants you to understand this wasn't just a hit record. It was a full-blown cultural phenomenon. It's a number that's hard to even wrap your head around. And with that level of fame came these moments of just pure, childlike excitement. The book uses Britney's own starstruck quotes to show that deep down, she was still that girl from Kentwood, just freaking out that she was meeting her own heroes, people like Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston. It makes her feel so much more relatable. But then, boom, the narrative immediately slams you with the other side of it, the painful part. And here, it's Lynn's voice, the protective mom, talking about how much it hurt to read the tabloid stories and the criticism. It's this really powerful plea for people to remember there's a human being behind the pop star. And this slide just sums up that whole conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the prize, that incredible electric feeling of connecting with thousands of fans. But on the other side, the cost, a complete and total loss of your personal freedom. The story is very open about the fact that to get the dream, you had to give up a normal life. So, this is what we're left with. Heart to Heart gave the world this powerful, really compelling, and very specific image. The small-town girl with a huge talent, backed by a loving family who beat the odds through pure determination. And the real question it leaves us with, especially knowing everything we know now, is how does a story like this, built so carefully, end up shaping how we see a person for years, even decades to come?